Hello, this is John Friedland with AGWS University. Welcome to our 2020 webinar series. Today the presenter will be Bob Harkins, our Vice President of Training, and topic of conversation will be Successful Menu Selling 2.0. Today Bob will cover successful menu selling, begins with menu telling, menu introductions and presenting options, and then also cover monologue, dialogue, and conversational selling. So let's turn it over to Bob Harkins.
Thank you very much, John Friedland. Good afternoon again, everyone, and thank you all for joining us. Once again, my name is Bob Harkins, and ladies and gentlemen, what a great time it is, I think, to commit or recommit ourselves to the retail automobile industry. And what I'm referring to are the numbers that we just saw for the past several years. You know, 4 things to share with you. First of all, the dust is settled, the count is in, and for 2019 was the U.S. auto industry's 7th strongest year on record. 2019, the 7th strongest year on record. 17.1 million new cars and light trucks. As a result of that, we've now had 5 consecutive years above 17 million. And those 5 years, of course, are 2015 through 2019. And as part of that was our best year ever, 2016, at 17.5 million new cars and light trucks. Speaking of light truck sales, number 3, U.S. light truck sales set a record for a 5th consecutive year. 2019, light truck sales, 12.3 million. 12.3 million light trucks. And folks, that represents 72% of the total market last year. And finally, what's kind of interesting, number 4, is the 2020 initial forecast by the experts. And that is, most of them are saying somewhere between 16.7 and 16.9 million new cars and light trucks. So what I would say to you is, for the past 3 or 4 years, they've said the same thing. 16.7, 16.8, 16.9, whatever, and guess what? We've always come in at over 17 million. So really, I think we have the forecasters right where we want them, and that is, they're probably going to be wrong, and they're probably going to be incorrect. Today's topic that John Friedland mentioned, Successful Menu Selling 2.0, quite frankly, was born out of requests from several of you that are on with us this afternoon, requests as a result of last month's webinar. And of course, that topic was your 2020 F&I profitability focus. And 2 things that I want to share with you from that, that's just not going to be in the slides, we'll go through it real quickly. Number 1 was J.D. Power survey results. J.D. Power survey results that they've shared with us the past 15 months. And it involves minutes or time spent in selling a new vehicle and getting the customer through the finance and insurance process. And those 4 numbers are 187, and then a 32, and then a 41, and then a 20. So what do those numbers represent? 187 represents the total minutes, total time it takes to sell a new vehicle and put the customer through the F&I process, 187 minutes on average. Not real good at math, but that's north of 3 hours, right? The big offender is the 32. Among those 187 minutes, 32 minutes is the time waiting to get into F&I. So the downtime average is 32 minutes. And then just the end of last year, the 2 other numbers that J.D. Power shared with us from a survey standpoint, the 41 and 20. 41 represents the average time spent in F&I, and 20 has to do with CSI, as far as exponentially increasing our CSI numbers. If we can get that customer in and out and through the F&I process in 20 minutes or less, it obviously significantly increases the CSI in the store. So 187, 32, 41, and 20. As a result of that, ties in very nicely to what we're talking about today, just getting started with successful menu selling. Now, the second thing for really last month, and we also touched on it last year, was information from manufacturer focus groups. And it has to do with the top 4 things people want in the sales and buying process. So real quickly, what are they? Number 1, remember, it is a quick and efficient sales and F&I process that is both professional and transparent. Keywords being professional and transparent. Number 2, they want to talk with an individual, preferably one person, what a key phrase that is, who can help them find the vehicle they want at a price and payment they can afford. So who's on top of that right now, even as we speak? And it's 2 large public companies. Number 1 is Sonic Automotive Group, specifically their Echo Park stores, their used car superstores, but also their other retail stores as well. And now Asbury Automotive Groups, and established and saying to the fact that they're eliminating the F&I process the F&I manager position, that is, and they're going with variable operations managers, or VOMs, to handle the sale of the vehicle, the figures, and they'll also get into the presenting of the optional voluntary protection products as it relates to F&I. So that's 1 and 2. 3 and 4, however, directly relate to finance and insurance, and that's part of our discussion today. Number 3, what customers want is they want an F&I experience that expedites, and that's the key word. They want an F&I experience that expedites the delivery process, not prolongs it. And finally, number 4, they want to talk with an F&I professional who adds value to the purchase experience, not aggravation. So are we value builders, or are we aggravation product providers? So again, successful menu selling 2.0. Thank you for being with us. Menu selling 2.0, first of all, it's a process that's based on telling and helping instead of initially selling. Completely different, quite frankly, from how we taught it for years and how I taught it for a lot of years, dating back to really 1976 when I began F&I training and all the way up through today. It's a process based on telling and helping instead of initially selling. The fundamental premise is really quite simple. The fundamental premise is that F&I is about helping customers make an informed decision about the optional voluntary protection products that are available to them in connection with their purchase, without any effort to sell them anything the first time through the menu. The key is to commit to thought tracks, and the thought tracks are: we want to tell the customer what the product is, we want to tell the customer what the product does, we want to tell the customer what that means to them. Significantly different from how we've taught it, perhaps, for a number of years. The bottom line is presenting options with the focus on informing customers of what's available with no pressure to buy will allow customers to make comments, tell you really what they think, ask questions, and allow you to have a conversation with them. I mean, what could be better than that? The great news, if we can pull that off, it reduces or eliminates the time problem, and you're responding to their request for information. Now, before we go to the next slide, let's go back to that phrase, optional voluntary protection products. Where did that come from? As an organization, the American Guardian Group of companies, when it comes to training, American Guardian Warranty Services University, we endorse and teach the recommendations from NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association, also AFIP, the Association of Finance and Insurance Professionals, and lastly, the AGWS Seller Code of Conduct for Retail Sales. Well, NADA's publication that was released in April of last year, it's called the Model Dealership Policy for Voluntary Protection Products. Many of you are familiar with that. If not, you should really get a copy of that from NADA. The author is Paul Mitri. Paul Mitri is VP of Regulatory Affairs for NADA, also Chief Counsel for Financial Services. This is an 18-page driven publication. The key pages are really just 4 pages. The actual physical layout of the policy itself is 2 pages, and then also 2 appendices on top of that. So 4 pages is really what you need. And that gets you into the use of the term optional voluntary protection products. Optional voluntary protection products. That's the NADA recommendation. So what are we eliminating if we follow that? No more ancillaries. They're not add-on products. It's not our protected payment plan. We're offering optional voluntary protection products. The key again, let's commit to thought tracks, what it is, what it does, and what that means to the customer. Conversely, using the menu as a selling tool in the initial disclosure creates more resistance to the products we offer and makes overcoming objections more difficult. Say that again. Using the menu as a selling tool too early, too quickly, prematurely in the initial disclosure creates more resistance to the products we offer and makes overcoming objections more difficult. The problem, very simply, what do customers think? What do customers think or assume when they see our menu with multiple columns? I'll tell you what many people think, and you know what it is. But they're thinking about this inwardly and probably not saying it to you outwardly. So what they're thinking is, here we go again. They're trying to sell me everything on that page. And the problem is, many of us, we have the 4 columns, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, rust, aluminum, whatever it is, okay? And maybe we only have 5 products as part of the packages that we offer. But if we have 4 columns, and at first look, one column has 5 products, the next one has 4, the next one has 3, and the next one has 2. Even though they're really only 5 products, 5 options, the customer thinks right off the bat, man, everything on that page, that's 14 products. What the heck is going on? And you know what that really comes back to? It's the three questions that are on the mind of every customer when they come into F&I. And you know what they are, because we've been talking about them for decades. The customers don't say them outwardly when they come in, but they're thinking about it, about the process. And what are the three questions? Number one, can I trust you? Can I trust you? Number two, are you credible? And number three, do you care? Do you really care about me, my needs and situation? And really, quite frankly, I think there's a fourth one. And number four is this guy, is this lady, is this person, whatever, are they really trying to help me, or are they just trying to sell me something? So what's the solution, perhaps? That is to commit to a single or a two-column menu. Two-column menu with that one column. The second column is the custom column, which is initially blank. So commit to a single or two-column menu and a process based on telling and helping instead of initially selling. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, watch customers relax. I've seen it happen. I've talked to our agents. I've talked to people that have written articles in automotive news and industry publications. It's amazing what's happening in stores if we commit to that, presenting options and the thought process of is, does, and means. The key is, does, and means. So really what we're saying is to gain credibility. That's one of the questions, are you credible? To gain credibility, quite frankly, just use your own words. Just use your own words. Instead of using word tracks and scripts that we've taught for decades, and canned speeches that we've taught for decades, let's focus and commit to really conversational selling, developing our thought tracks, and as a result of that, setting up and having an informal exchange of ideas and respond as a result of that to the customer's request for information. Think about that. If they're asking questions, making comments, or responding to that, we're going to eliminate that time problem significantly. I think really the bottom line of this is that for many of us, our focus might need to change. In the industry, in the store, whatever, our focus might need to change. And what I'm getting at is, instead of saying to ourselves, you know, we have all these products, 5, 8, 10 products, whatever, we have all these products. How can I sell them to our customers? Maybe a better focus might be something like this. You know, we have all these customers. We have all these customers. How can our products and services help them? So instead of we have all these products, how can I sell them to our customers? How about we have all these customers? How can our products and services help them? So when we think about that and presenting that and talking to customers about this process, you know, industry publications can give us a great amount of information about this process, of the thought process, and is, does, and means. If you look at automotive news, you'll see articles about that. You look at Asian Entrepreneur, you'll see articles about that. Industry publications, F&I and Showroom Magazine, you'll have processes about that. So when you think about it, however, and what I'm now seeing in stores and what we have the ability to help you with, quite frankly, is to produce and have generic product videos. Generic product videos available. Not necessarily in the F&I office, although they could be there, but generic product videos on your website, generic product videos for the customer to view that's waiting in service, generic product videos for the customer to view during that downtime of 32 minutes rather than, you know, watching TV, reading a magazine, whatever. Give them the generic product video, and the key to that is the word generic. It's not a brand name. So, you know, third-party information can be very, very powerful. So, for example, on a generic product video, if you have maybe an ASE, Certified Master Technician, saying things like, you know, folks, you know, we seldom repair anything these days. We seldom repair anything these days. Instead, what we do is diagnose, remove, and replace components. In fact, we are component replacement experts. Think about that from a third-party information standpoint and sharing that information with the customer from that expert. You see how different that is than what we've taught for decades? How many miles a year do you drive? How long you plan to keep your new car? Might those driving habits change? Did your salesperson happen to discuss the manufacturer's limited warranty on your new vehicle? Folks, we got to work smarter, not harder. We really do. And part of the reason that we know that we're not in so many stores, you know, the average penetration on service contract penetration always remains the same. It's less than 50%. Unless we have a great follow-up program and sell them on the service aisle. Many of our stores are doing that, but a lot of them aren't. So why is it always been hovering around 45, 46, 47%? Maybe it's time for us to change the focus. So what I've seen is the inhibitor, the motivation to do this is really not, from a change standpoint, it's not self-doubt, it's It's not fear of failure, it's loss of security. The number one inhibitor, quite frankly, is the pain and change. The pain and change that it takes to learn and try something new. We just don't take the pain and change to learn and try something new. That something new for many of you might be the is, the does, the means. For others of you, it might be third-party information. For others of you, it might be product videos. For others of you, it might be all three or four. All right, menu introductions and presenting options. 5 key ideas. Number one, we want to introduce the menu properly. Introduce the menu properly. Zig Ziglar, one of Zig Ziglar's quotes, Zig said, on many other things, but as it relates to this, you know, you can't close anything effectively that you haven't opened properly. You can't close anything effectively that you haven't opened properly. So we want to introduce the menu properly. We're going to recommend 20 words that'll enable you to do that. So the 3 bullet points of that, we want it to be low-key, we want it to be downstream, meaning flowing with the customer's opinions and remarks, and non-confrontational, meaning no combative conversation. Number 2, eliminate 5 negative trigger words. And these are great words, and they're great words maybe as we get into the presentation, a full-blown step sell if we have to do that, if you want to use that term. I would rather call it a value-added presentation, or certainly into objection handling. But words like services, coverages, features, benefits, and programs, what we've learned for the people that have really tried this, we want to eliminate those words from the introduction of the menu. So what do we do to replace that? That's the next bit of information. Number 3, we want to use the key phrase, optional voluntary protection products. Optional voluntary protection products. Optional voluntary protection products. Number 4, stop selling and start offering options. I first saw that when I was doing training for the Rick Hendrick organization a long time ago. They called it SS and SO. Stop selling and start offering options. Offer opportunity to customize. Maybe that's a good reason to have that custom column on your menu. And last but certainly not least, commit to the 3 C's. What are the 3 C's? Very simply, compliance, completeness, and consistency. Compliance, completeness, and consistency. So that menu introduction you asked, I try to keep it at 20 words. And here's what we have now as a result of the change just last year in April and May from Paul Mitri, the driven publication, Model Leadership Policy for Voluntary Protection Products. And here's the 20. Mr. Customer, here's a menu breakdown. Here's his one word. Here's a menu breakdown of your optional voluntary protection products that are available to protect your credit and your investment. We were with a dealer group just recently, the week before last, and had several people in the group of stores that we were in, actually 4 different states, that had been to class. And they were saying, you know, Bob, this is different than what I have in my notes. This is different than what you taught us and what you talked about when you came to class, when we came to class, even about a year ago. I said, you're exactly right. And what they were talking about is the phrase optional voluntary protection products. We changed that from an AGWSU standpoint as a result of the driven publication from NADA. Before that, the 20 words was very simply this. Here's a menu breakdown, a recap of your options that are available to protect your credit and your investment. And quite frankly, that works. Here's a menu breakdown of your options that are available to protect your credit and your investment. Our commitment, however, is to the NADA program, Voluntary Protection Products, utilizing that term. Here's a menu breakdown of your optional voluntary protection products that are available to protect your credit and your investment. Again, those are changes in NADA guidelines, April of 2019, from Paul Mitri and Paul's teams. So the key, presenting options, IBS and IBQ. IBS and IBQ. IBS, impact benefit statements. The thought process, what it is, what it does, what that means to you. Impact benefit questions, the key, ask power questions and utilize power words. Ask power questions and utilize power words. We were in a workshop or seminar, really, it was about not quite a year and a half ago. People that were sales psychologists and this, that, and the other thing, whatever, talking about power words and power questions. And the recommendation was the utilization of 2 words that are really power words. And the 2 words that they talked about are the words one and describe. The words one and describe, because it gets people to stop and think, respond to you, and you can have a conversation as a result of that. The words one and describe. So, you know, rather than how many miles a year do you drive, how long do you plan to keep your new car, might those driving habits change, where do you currently have your vehicle serviced and maintained, and it goes on and on. What about starting a conversation with, folks, let me ask you, what is in fact, or what is the one technology feature? What is the one technology feature that excites you the most in your new vehicle? Or, folks, how would you describe a typical month with your vehicle? How would you describe a typical month with your vehicle? Another one might be, how would you describe a typical month with your family as it relates to vehicle use? And the one that I wanted to throw in to just give you how you can use the words one and describe in the same question. Folks, let me ask you, what one word would best describe how you felt when? What one word would best describe how you felt when? And now, do your homework. Verbalize a story or a situation. What one word would best describe how you felt when you came out of Walmart and got near your car, and the closer you got, there was a shopping cart lodged right next to the left side of your door. Dings, scrapes, and scratches, whatever. What one word would best describe how you felt when? Verbalize the story or situation. What one word would best describe the last time that you hit that pothole, that you hit that debris in the roadway, and you felt something that just wasn't right shortly thereafter? What one word would best describe that? So, use your key words, your thought process as you develop those, and just see how different that is, as opposed to the customer saying, here we go again with the questions that we've taught since 1979. How many miles a year do you drive? How long do you plan to keep your car? And the other questions that we use. But I want to go back to IBS, impact benefit statements. Impact benefit statements. What it is, what it does, and what it means. Just a couple of quick examples. And it's not on here as a slide. But if we use the vehicle service agreement as one of our options, what it is a vehicle service agreement. What it does, it gives you a hedge against inflation on the cost of computers, components, parts, and labor, as it provides you with extended coverage for major and minor repairs and replacements at a reasonable cost. Once again, what it does for you is it gives you a hedge against inflation on the cost of computers, components, parts, and labor, as it provides you with extended coverage for major and minor repairs and replacements at a reasonable cost. Think how different that is than, again, the step sell presentation. And then we follow that up with Mr. Customer, and what that means to you and your family is, quite frankly, you won't have to budget your cash. You won't have to budget your cash for costly repair bills later. You won't have to budget your cash for costly repair bills later. Now think about that. If the customer's already seen, because they were in the lobby or on your website, that ASE certified technician, master tech, saying what we talked about before, think of how that third-party information is helping you right now. Think of also how you can use other third-party information that, quite frankly, we read about in class all the time. And a lot of these things are simple to find if we'll just take the time to do it in our stores. What about the AAA information? That says that 1/3 of the U.S. drivers in America, 1/3 of the drivers in America can't afford an unexpected repair bill of just $600 without selling something or going into debt. I mean, think about that. 64 million people can't afford a $600 repair bill without selling something or going into debt. So you have that kind of information from a third-party standpoint to share with the customer. One that I really like now, it really comes from J.D. Power and Associates. If you go to their website, J.D. Power, among other things, they'll say, it's a J.D. Power article, that a vehicle's technological systems really represents one of the main reasons to purchase a vehicle service agreement. Now, we can say that, I can say that, you can say that, but you tie the name of J.D. Power to it, think of the value add of that. So really, we've got to work smarter, not harder. And one more as an example, a GAP, Guaranteed Asset Protection. That's what it is, what it does. It protects your budget, your credit, your savings, and your total investment against financial loss. What that means, folks, if your vehicle gets stolen or not recovered and totaled in an accident, you won't have to pay the difference between what your insurance check is and what you owe the bank. Folks, what could be better than that? And now, from a standpoint of third-party information, talk to your insurance agent. I'm a State Farm customer, have been for some time. Talked to my agent in Arlington, Texas. She told me not long ago that third-party information, insurance stats, on average, a new vehicle that depreciates nearly 50%, right at 50% over the first 3 years of ownership, the first 3 years. Also, insurance statistics, 6 million plus vehicles. 6 million plus vehicles are stolen or totaled annually. So you think about that. When you talk about that, your guaranteed asset protection is part of your unique financial package, as part of our optional voluntary protection products. We're not only providing financial or monetary relief, we're also providing emotional relief for the customer as well. And folks, what could be better than that? Because why do we do that? Because we care, we really do. we do things a bit differently here at our dealership. We care not just about your business today. Obviously, that's very important to us because really we care about gaining your respect and earning your repeat and referral business for the future as well. So again, we want to think of is, does, and means, the thought process, impact, benefit questions. Think of the power words, want and describe, and really the one that's wide open related to your products. What one word would best describe how you felt when? Finish that story related to a product and really get involved with a conversation, a true meaningful dialogue with that customer. Next up, very interesting, menu introductions and presenting options from a compliance standpoint. The most important piece of paper from a compliance standpoint, the most important piece of paper or digital document in a deal file is a properly executed menu. Why, you ask? The answer is it confirms the dealership was transparent during the sale of F&I products. Recommendation for you, this information along with others, but this one in particular, is would encourage you to look at, purchase, find a copy of Gil Vanover's March of 2018 release. And his book is Automotive Compliance in a Digital World. Automotive Compliance in a Digital World. It is a great resource. It is an excellent resource to do business the right way. RHITT, respect, honesty, integrity, transparency, and trust. It's my kind of book because the print is big. It's only 18 chapters, only 163 pages, but he really gets to the heat of the deal. And this is really part of it. Most important piece of paper or digital document in a deal file is a properly executed menu. A properly executed menu. Why? It confirms the dealership was transparent during the sale of F&I products. And think about the ability to lay that in front of a regulator or a judge or a mediator or whatever if you're involved in some kind of action claiming that what you were doing was a UDAP violation. UDAP, UDAP, or UDAAP. From the state or FTC, it's UDAP, unfair and deceptive acts and practices. Then enter the CFPB, they bought a vowel, and it's UDAAP, UDAAP, AAP. That stands for unfair, deceptive, or abusive acts or practices. Abusive means what? Misuse, used wrongly, or mistreated consumer. So if we can confirm and prove the dealership was transparent during the sale of the F&I products, that takes a lot of the issue away from the predatory litigators that are looking at what was done or wasn't done in the store. So properly executed menu accomplishes four things. And there are others, but here's the big four. A properly executed menu. Quite frankly, very simply, a properly executed menu, and it's not on your screen, but a properly executed menu is one process, and it's comprised or consists of 2 pages. It's one process, but it consists of 2 pages. Page number 1 is the presentation page, and page number 2 is the selected and declined page. We'll look at an example of that a little bit later. Page number 1 is a presentation page. Page number 2 is a selected and declined page. So properly executed menu accomplishes 4 things. Number 1, it affirms or confirms, it affirms the agreement in sales. It affirms the agreement in sales from a base payment standpoint as the payment is initialed by the customer. It affirms the agreement in sales from a base payment standpoint as the payment is initialed by the customer. Number 2, it discloses that the products offered and selected are in fact optional. Number 3, it discloses the base and final payment. Discloses the base and final payment on the selected decline page. And last but not least, it discloses the prices of selected products, and the terms, it discloses the prices of products, and the terms agree with the retail installment sale contract or lease agreement. So affirms the agreements and sales from a base payment standpoint. We have the customer initial that portion of the menu. It discloses that the products are offered and selected, that they're optional. Discloses the base and final payments on the selected decline page. And lastly, discloses the prices of selected products, and the terms agree with the retail installment sale contract or lease agreement. So that's the one that the customer signs. The selected decline page is what goes in the deal jacket. That's exactly what should agree with the numbers, once again, on the retail installment sale contract or consumer lease agreement. Let's take a quick look at an example of that. A menu, just as an example, here's one that says unique financial package. Dealership is offering 5 products. The way this one is laid out, you have tire and wheel, appearance protection, guaranteed asset protection, prepaid maintenance, and the vehicle service contract last. You want to have a conversation, you can contact me. I'll be happy to chat with you on why many stores are now showing the service contract as the last thing on that first page. But that's for another discussion for another day. But the idea is you have 5 products, single column menu, and the custom column is on the right-hand side. So as we go back to what we just learned on the previous slide, think about how we can get into this. Very simply, Mr. Customer, once again, as previously discussed, these are the terms and conditions under which you can take delivery of your vehicle today with approved credit. Very simple. Those, once again, as we previously discussed, we did probably when they first came in, review the information, the buyer's order, the worksheet, whatever your terminology is. Once again, as previously discussed, these are the terms and conditions under which you can take delivery of your vehicle today with approved credit. And now we go back up to the top. What I mean with that, folks, your amount financed, your base amount financed is $28,000. Your base payment, your vehicle payment is $450.94. That's for a term of 72 months, 6 years of 72 months, at an annual percentage rate of 5%. Annual percentage rate of 5%. Mr. Customer, could I please have your initial right here, right next to the $450.94? Once again, Mr. Customer, as previously discussed, these are the terms and conditions under which you can take delivery of your vehicle today with approved credit. So if you've done all the numbers before with the down payment, this, that, and the other thing, maybe you shorten that process for this example. Your amount financed is $28,000. Your vehicle only payment, your base payment is $450.94. That's for 72 months at an annual percentage rate of 5%. Folks, can I please have your initial right here just to confirm that you understood the payment of $450.94. Here we go now. Right after that is our menu introduction. Folks, Mr. Customer, with that in mind, here's a menu breakdown. Here's a menu breakdown of your optional voluntary protection products that are available to protect your credit and your investment. Folks, as you can see, our unique financial package here at the dealership is really comprised of 5 options. Folks, the great news is you can choose all 5 of these options. Quite frankly, folks, you can choose none of them because nothing is required or is a condition of financing. Or folks, what you can do, like many of our clients, many of our customers here at the dealership, what you can really do is mix and match the options here on the left as far as your package, and as the right-hand column says, truly customize a plan that fits your driving habits and ownership experiences perfectly. And what I like to do after that is ask for the initial trial close. Folks, let me ask you, which of these options would work best for you and your family this afternoon? That is wide open. Not trying to sell anything. I'm just talking about 5 options, and at this point in time, in that example, I'm not even going through the options and giving them the is and does and means. You're the quarterback. You're calling the play. I mean, you make the decision based upon what you're doing with that particular customer. But we want to work smarter, not harder. Once again, Mr. Customer, here's the menu breakdown of your optional voluntary protection products that are available to protect your credit and your investment. As you can see, our unique financial package consists of or is comprised of 5 options. The great news, folks, is you can choose all of these options. Quite frankly, folks, you can choose none of them because nothing is required or is a condition of financing. Or, folks, if you like, what you can do is really mix and match your options here on the left, and as this column on the right indicates, truly customize a plan that fits your driving habits and ownership experiences perfectly. Folks, which of these options would work best for you and your budget this afternoon, or you and your family this afternoon? That's one option, one way to do that. Now, with some customers, you may say to yourself, or maybe your approach is going to be, from a thought process standpoint, is I want to give them the is, the does, and the means when I go through the unique financial package. You can certainly do that, but be flexible based upon the customer that's in front of you. So if I want to do that, it says, hey, Mr. Customer, your first option is your tire and wheel road hazard with roadside assistance and cosmetics. What this does, it gives you repair replacement coverage for tires and rims, including mounting, back balancing, and taxes. What that means is the next time your tire and rim comes in contact with bad things, nails, glass, metal, potholes, rocks, tree limbs, debris in the roadway that causes bad things, that causes distress, the great news is we're going to provide for you the protection, response, and services necessary in time of need. So you go through that. Your second option, your appearance protection. Your third option, your guaranteed asset protection. Your fourth option, your prepaid maintenance. What this does, folks, is gives you a hedge against inflation, the cost of maintenance items. And what we're referring to there, of course, is your oil change, your oil filter change, your lubrication of key chassis parts, tire rotation at the manufacturer's correct interval. Also talking, Mr. Customer, about just multi-point inspection. The great news is when every time that your VIN number, your vehicle identification number is entered into our DMS, our computer system, it's going to print out any service bulletins, any service updates, and also any recall information as well. What could be better than that? We provide that for you here as part of our service as it relates to prepaid maintenance. And then your last option, of course, is your vehicle service contract. What this does for you is that it gives you a hedge against inflation on the cost of computers, components, parts, and labor, as it provides you with what extended coverage for repair and replacement programs in a time of need. So again, which of these options would work best for you and your family? So now the 523.10 for all five of those products, the 450.94, maybe that gets us into a cost objection and we panic. Well, if the number one objection is cost, why not just stay with that? The customers agreed on the 450.94. The 450.94. A lot of you are into breaking everything you sell down to a daily purchase. Probably nothing wrong with that, but maybe it's overworked. But it certainly does work very effectively with many people. So I'm buying my new whatever for $450.94, divide that by 30 days, that's an investment of $15 a day in my purchase, whether I drive it or not, $15 a day. But that $15 a day, what does that provide you with? It's the space. It provides you with the safety, performance, appearance, comfort, economy, and dependability that you need and want for you and your family. That's what that $450.94 a day does. Folks, with that in mind, doesn't it make sense that if you can, to invest another $240 a day? Now, what's the $240 a day? That's your payment increase of $72.16 divided by 30. Doesn't it make sense to invest another $240 a day to protect your, and think about the protect your. These are the living benefits. This is why the customer needs and buys the products. It's protecting, number one, your family budget. Number two, it's protecting your good credit, your credit track record. Number three, it's protecting your increasing investment in your purchase. What do we mean by increasing investment? If they gave you any kind of a cash down payment up front, that's an investment they've already made in the purchase. If they had any kind of positive trade equity, every now and then you run into that, that's already an increasing investment as well. But even if they have no cash and no positive trade equity, you can still say, look, folks, beginning next month in March, and every month thereafter, as you make that payment to Last National Bank, what's really happening to your investment in cash? They will always get that right. The investment in cash is going up. So it doesn't make sense if you can to protect what? Your credit, your investment, your savings, your personal savings, and maybe even the vehicle itself. Again, we provide you with that because we care. We do things a bit differently here. Everything that we do is based on 5 principles. Those 5 principles are respect, honesty, integrity, transparency, and trust. And then real quickly, that second page of the menu could be the selected decline page. So here's a menu breakdown of the coverages that you both selected and declined to protect your credit and your investment. Customer selected the service contract and gap. Their payment is $499.97. The total cost increase, the amount financed is $3,044. But before we print the contract, let's point out that the customer has declined coverages relating to appearance protection, tire and wheel, and prepaid maintenance. So folks, look, before I hit the go button and print that contract, doesn't it make sense today to just invest another $23 a month, which is what, 77 cents a day, to have that complete protection? Which way would work best for you and your family this afternoon? And see what they say. So again, the menu, back to our previous pages, our previous page. I mean, think about this. What we're trying to do with that menu process. The most important piece of paper or digital document in a deal file is a properly executed menu. Why? It confirms the dealership was transparent during the sale of F&I products. So what are we doing? Affirms the agreements and sales, discloses that the products by issuing the monthly payment, discloses that the products offered and selected are optional, discloses the base and final payment on the selected decline page, and discloses the prices of products and terms, and they agree on the retail installment sale contract or consumer lease agreement. Next, Monologue, dialogue, and conversational selling. Monologue, dialogue, and conversational selling. You know, this kind of goes back to the dictionary definition of selling. We all know what it is. You look up sales or selling in the dictionary, what's Webster say? He says that sales or selling is an exchange of goods, an exchange of goods or services, an exchange of goods or services for money or its equivalent. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the definition. However, from a practical application standpoint, with what we do every day, maybe it's more effective if we think of selling as something like this. What I believe, quite frankly, is this, and that is the most effective way. The most effective way to view selling is to see it as a buying process, not a selling process. The most effective way to view selling is to see it as a buying process that the salesperson brings about with the customer. The process begins, however, with a discovery of needs which can be met by the products and services being presented. So now you're the quarterback. You know, what's your approach? Is it monologue? Is it dialogue? Is it conversational selling? You know, I started in the F&I business in 1972 and training in 1976. I was learned and taught the monologue approach, and that went through really the mid-1980s. Monologue, one-way communication, no interaction. We would hand out a script of almost 30 pages that people had to memorize, go back to their hotel room at night, and come back and go and videotape the next day. Monologue for a long time, no interaction, one-way communication. Then we realized that, hey, we got to work smarter, not harder, and in comes the dialogue. In comes the dialogue of the mid-1980s. I was with the group as we developed it, known as guided discovery. You want to have a guided discovery conversation, give me a call. I was there when we did it. The blood, sweat, and tears that we went through to convert from a monologue F&I presentation to guided discovery, the dialogue presentation. So really that became two-way communication. It was questions, and that was great for a while, but now we've got too cute, too many questions, too many of this, too many of that, and now, unfortunately, that dialogue for many people has become nothing more than an interrogation. So if the customer thinks of it as an interrogation, it becomes combative conversation, and you're done. So why have that happen to you? And now, what we really see, and what I believe, quite frankly, without exception, that a much better way to go is really conversational selling. Conversational selling, if you will accept the pain and change that it takes to learn and try something new. Conversational selling, what it is basically, an informal exchange of ideas. An informal exchange of ideas that allows you to respond to the customer's request for information. So if we can pull that off, we're eliminating that problem of time with the customer and the aggravation that the customer wants to avoid, and also expediting the delivery process. Ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to value statements and mission statements. Value statements and mission statements. The AGWS, American Guardian Group of Companies mission statement that we share with our agent partners and dealer clients around the country, very simply is this, and that is every customer knows what they're getting, they agree to buy it, they know why they need it, and they feel good about it when they leave the dealership. That's the AGWS mission statement that we share with our agent partners and dealer clients. Every customer knows what they're getting, they agree to buy it, they know why they need it, and they feel good about it when they leave the dealership. And then the American Guardian Group of Companies, specifically American Guardian Warranty Services University training value statement is very simply this. We endorse and teach the industry standard, and that's what it is. We endorse and teach the industry standard and best practices that are recommended by NADA, AFIP, and the AGWS Seller Code of Conduct for Retail Sales, which serves as a guide to the proper sales practices for all retail sellers of AGWS products. So back to NADA again, NADA, the National Automobile Dealers Association, the recommendation, that's information from their two publications. The most recent one we mentioned, the Model Dealership Policy for Voluntary Protection Products, and also the one going back to 2014 that has to do with rate spread and rates above buy rates, whatever, and that's the NADA Fair Credit Compliance policy and program. So we endorse and teach the industry standard and best practices recommended by NADA, AFIP's canons, their code of ethics, and then the AGWS Seller Code of Conduct for Retail Sales, which serves as a guide to the proper sales practices for all retail sellers of AGWS products. And that is now a 15 bullet point code of ethics, code of conduct for retail sales. Finally, I would just say to you that our commitment here at American Guardian Warning Services University, the American Guardian Group of Companies, our commitment, as always, is to help you maximize deal profit. Deal profit being, front-end gross, finance and insurance income, quite frankly, those fixed and variable operations, because we have the ability and the people to help you with variable and do it the right way. But do it the right way. Respect, honesty, integrity, transparency, and trust. And that is in a manner consistent with good customer relations and sound business practices. Thank you once again for joining us for our second webinar of the year. We're doing these monthly by request. They will always be the second Wednesday of every month, and always at 1 p.m. Central Time. With that, I'll turn this back to Mr. John Friedland. John?
Thank you very much, Bob. And thank you for joining us. This is, again, our monthly webinar schedule here in front of you there. Our next one will be held on March 11th, 2020. Please go ahead and register and join. You'll be able to see that on LinkedIn as well as other social media outlets. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Just hit the AGWS page and click the blue follow button with the plus sign, and that'd be greatly appreciated. Well, thank you again for joining us. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.